the bad, the ugly from the first 6 weeks of the Dallas Cowboys season has been put to bed, and they're looking ahead to what's in front of them, and hopefully it's some good football at that. Welcome into Cowboys Rewind. Dallas hitting the reset button after the bye week and locked in heading into week 8, and I'm going to rewind you back through it all. The struggles in the run game the first 6 weeks, and seeing Derrick Henry continue to give defenses hell this season. In week 7 especially brought back to life the Derrick Henry and Dallas conversation. And Jerry Jones addressing that on The Fan this week.
Derrick Henry is having a career year. I don't know if he'd be having that career year in our situation. And that's really something you really do have to look at, because if he had not had as many carries as our running backs have had, then he certainly probably wouldn't have attained the level of impact he's having. And then he's a real good complement to the type of offense they run. We don't run that type of offense at all.
So what if the Dallas Cowboys would have brought Derrick Henry to the Dallas Cowboys organization? Well, the crew on the break broke it all down this week.
And it was a tweet that Jesse Holley had put out last night, and he had asked, would Derrick Henry be having this type of success if he was running behind the Cowboys offensive line? And in my perspective, I'm thinking and I'm looking at it, absolutely not. He would not be having the production that he's been having in Baltimore, but it's still probably a top 10 rushing offense that you would have with Derrick Henry, because there's not a better running back in the league that makes something out of nothing. And it was further interesting that Jerry made this comment, because Baltimore is also starting a rookie offensive lineman. Granted, they're not starting two of them, but they're starting one of them. And, you know, it's not been a perfect situation up front for them at times this year. And Derrick Henry has at times had to make something out of nothing. There was a play last night. It was a crack toss to the right, and no one did their job. He bounced back left, and it was a 15-yard gain. So I'm looking at it, and I'm like, no, this guy would be just fine in this offensive line.
Can I throw something out real quick? Let me ask you this. Do you think, because it's my belief, and I was one of the people that was ringing the bell for this.
Yeah.
After the Zeke deal, I said on this air multiple times, I think in today's NFL, it is a bad decision on the whole for teams to invest money in aging running backs.
Sure.
Do you think that maybe this was a philosophical? Because by the way,
I would appreciate,
but what I'm saying is, do you think that it's not just the Cowboys? I think around the league this year, what you're seeing right now is a resurgence of these second contract running backs, which nobody predicted. Like, you go down the list, and I wrote this down. Like, you got Henry, Barkley, Jacobs, Dobbins, Pollard. All these guys are guys,
Joe Mixon,
Aaron Jones, Mixon. Like, you got all these guys that everybody was like, I don't know if I'm willing to pay this guy second contract. And all of a sudden, these guys are lighting up the league.
Philosophy got a lot of teams in trouble.
Yeah, so I wonder if that was it. Yeah.
The Dallas Cowboys are not the only team to misevaluate players. There are other teams around the league that are sitting in the same thing. You know, you look at the guys that are running the football right now. There wasn't a time, and when I first started on 105.3 The Fan, and when I was with you, on with my show, on with the G-Bag Nation, fighting for balance for Dak. Don't want Dak throwing the ball 45 times a game. Got to run the ball. And then the argument was from the analytics people, any run is a wasted play. Any run is a wasted play. Why are you running on first down? Why are you running on second down? Now, my show argues with me about philosophy that I admit it, I'm a old school player. I believe the running game punishes people. Mm-hmm. We've seen it 3 losses here. Mm-hmm. It affected your owner today when you listen to him talking about how those losses and things like that. To me, I believe in the running game. I've always believed in the running game. But the analytics people wouldn't let you believe in the running game anymore. And now what's happened is teams have gotten smaller. Defenses have gotten smaller. We're playing 11 personnel. Oh, my gosh, we're dealing with all these wide receivers and all that.
Linebackers
now
smaller.
What we're doing, everybody's smaller. Now what do? These backs, every one of you mentioned, what's their common thread? They're all tough. They're all physical runners. Nice. And that's a problem for defenses that are small. So this is just coming back around. And and your philosophy is like, we don't want to pay a back. Don't pay one and see what happens to you.
Well, while Derrick Henry is the league's leading rusher, the Cowboys currently have the worst rushing offense in the NFL. So they're looking to get a little bit more out of that running back room against the 49ers tonight. But who else do they need a little bit more from? Is it Dak Prescott? Is it CeeDee Lamb? Or how about both of them? That's up next here on Cowboys Rewind.
Cowboys Rewind is brought to you by AT&T, official sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys. And by SWBC Mortgage, customized solutions to help you meet your personal and business goals. Visit SWBC.com. This segment is brought to you by Ashley, the official furniture store of the Dallas Cowboys.
Well, the Dallas Cowboys might be one of the worst scoring teams in the NFL and have the worst rushing offense in the NFL, but they've also found a little bit of success in their passing game, ranking second in the NFL in passing. When you talk about the stat sheet not telling the full story per Mike McCarthy, that's because they played from behind more than any other team in the NFL and also had to play the 2-minute more than any other team in the NFL. So it's no doubt about the production being there. The biggest concern is who the production is coming from. It's talk about CeeDee Lamb. They established themselves, him and Dak Prescott, proving they're one of the most prolific duos in the NFL to one of the most disjointed this year in 2024. There's been too many miscues that's led to crucial points left off the board that could have altered games this season. And CD being away from the team for 8 months certainly does have a factor. He and Dak have been vocal about that. And if you ask the Talking Cowboys crew who needs to step up this week against the 49ers and for this offense to have some success, it's 88.
I need more from CeeDee Lamb. This Cowboys offense needs more from CeeDee Lamb. We all know what CeeDee Lamb is capable of. Top 2 receiver in the league, and on any given week, when he's in that top 2 air, sometimes he's 1, sometimes he's 2, right there with Justin Jefferson. CeeDee Lamb can take the top off. He can be a playmaker underneath. He can do it from the slot. He can do it from the X. He can do it from Z. Now, question is, why the disconnect continually with Dak Prescott? Kyle made a great point last week. We're no longer talking about training camp now. We should not be talking about training camp
Far
now,
past it.
right? Because training camp was only 30, 31 days long. So if you use that math, then that means that September was his training camp. Okay, but here we are, late October now, and still haven't seen 4 quarters of dominant CeeDee Lamb. Yeah. So when you talk about what the potential and the expectation is, and he has these same expectations of himself. Dak Prescott has the same expectations of himself, and those two need to continue to hold each other accountable as they have been. But those two need to get on the same page, and they need to get on the same page time and again if this offense is to get going. We keep talking about, Brandon Cooks has been missing. Yeah, Jalen Tolbert has stepped up, and Jake Ferguson, and but are we having these weekly conversations about who needs to step up at WR2 and WR3 if CeeDee Lamb is torching defenses for 150? No, we're not having that conversation. So CD is him. We need to see more him in 2024 because we haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, it was funny. I read the article from Nick Eatman over the weekend where he was talking about CeeDee Lamb's production is similar than what it was last year. And I actually brought this point up on Tuesday or Wednesday.
You're saying he stole the idea from
He may have. I don't know. He didn't really elaborate on it the same way, though. He talked about how the
storyline theft.
The yardage for CeeDee Lamb last year going into the bye week, which was also week 7, by the way, was 475 yards and a touchdown on 34 receptions. He has 32 receptions, 467, and 2 touchdowns. So the production-wise, you look at it just baseline level, sweet, great. It looks almost exactly the same as his record-breaking season last year. So yes, things can turn around. The only thing that's different, actually there are a couple things that are different. 34 receptions on 42 targets last year. So he only had 8 targets that went outside of being caught. This year, he has 55 targets and 32 receptions.
Ooh, that catch percentage is down.
It goes from 8 yards per target this year. It was 11.3 yards per target last year.
Great.
81% catch percentage last year, as opposed to 58% catch rating this year. So the production is there. It's still the same. However, the efficiency of how you get to that number is definitely a huge drop-off.
CeeDee Lamb gets going again, and this offense looks like a completely different animal.
Completely. Period. And it's not to say that he can't get there. He can certainly get there.
I believe he will get there.
Yeah.
It's just a question of when. How soon?
And a lot of times you might need a run game to get them there too.
But last year, I feel like the running game wasn't even necessarily that much more of a threat than it is this year, right?
Right, but also if you think about down the stretch, there were other guys that stepped up after the bye week,
right.
that took some of that pressure off. Whether it was Ferguson or Cooks in the red zone,
definitely.
especially down the stretch. Cooks being a problem, especially in the red zone where he was catching all those touchdown passes. That was something that took the pressure off of CeeDee Lamb. You need somebody else to emerge in order for CeeDee to step up. But I'm with you. CeeDee's got to step up. He's got to be better.
The Talking Cowboys crew said it best. The sooner that these two find out their chemistry works, the sooner this team will have some good things happen on the field. And CeeDee Lamb did mention that he and Dak did get in some good work in the bye week. So off the field, obviously, not here at the Star on their own. But the sooner that these two find their chemistry, the sooner they will find some success within this offense. It's going to be a battle in San Francisco, specifically in the trenches. How does this offensive line match up with this 49ers defensive line? That's up next here on Cowboys Rewind.
This segment was brought to you by Ashley, the official furniture store of the Dallas Cowboys.
A battle in the trenches will take center stage in San Francisco, but specifically this Dallas offensive line has their work cut out for them in Week 8. They've had their ups and downs, having to overcome two rookies starting on this offensive line and still learning along the way. Zach Martin faced some demons, though, against the Detroit Lions, having one of his worst performances of his career. Everyone on the line has struggled, though. This Sunday's another uphill battle with two DNs you never want to see across the line of scrimmage. Nick Bosa, who's top 3 the last 2 seasons at getting to opposing quarterbacks and also leads the league in pressures this year. Then there's Leonard Floyd, who's known for his relentless pursuit and rattles any offensive lineman. Why is this a problem for this Cowboys offensive line? Well, the Talking Cowboys crew broke it all down.
They don't pressure, but they get pressure. Mm-hmm. This team blitzes the least amount in the NFL. I think they're bottom 2 or bottom 3 in the NFL in terms of blitz. Yeah, they blitz 17 or 19% at a time. They don't blitz, but
19.
Yeah, 19%. But they blitz. I mean, but they get pressure on the quarterback.
37%.
Yeah. They're getting back there. So what does that mean? That means that you have to be stout up front. These guys are not having to expose themselves defensively in terms of taking risks to still be effective defensively.
Well, and because they're so good up front and they get that pressure, you can play nickel, have that extra defensive back,
Correct.
and then all of a sudden the secondary helps out the front. It's kind of what Dallas did under Dan Quinn for a long time.
Yep.
In terms of pressure up front, allowing for that secondary to eat.
There's another former Cowboys, a former third-round pick of the Dallas Cowboys that everybody is kind of forgetting about right now, but he has 3 sacks right now. He's right up there with the sack tally as far as those other guys getting the job done, Leonard Floyd and Nick Bosa. That's Malik Collins. Mm-hmm. Malik Collins is in San Francisco 49er land right now. And for a lot of Cowboys fans that did not know that, and they're thinking right now after they hear me say, they're like, well, wait, Malik Collins plays over there? Yes, and he's playing well. He's actually playing career ball over there right now under that defensive scheme. So you got to keep an eye on him. What might work in the Cowboys' favor, and I say might because, again, based upon what I said yesterday, don't FAFO. You need to play like these guys are out there. Mm-hmm. Kevin Givens, he's a 3.5 sack guy. He helps with the pressure from the interior, but he is dealing with a groin injury. He did not participate yesterday. We'll see if he can go or if he's 100%, but you need to play like he's going and he's 100%. But nonetheless, it's that defensive front. Obviously, you have Fred Warner patrolling behind, and he is hands down the best linebacker in the game. But that front 4, I believe, even without Givens, is one of arguably probably the best in the league. Mm-hmm. And in large part, that's also because of what Malik Collins has given them. So the Cowboys, they have some insight on Malik Collins. Use that insight. You scouted him. You drafted him. You know his tendencies. You know his strengths. You know his weaknesses. Use that. Exploit that.
I like it. I don't like it. I like the breakdown.
He's like, no, sir, I don't like it.
The breakdown, but I do love, or I don't love seeing what they have on the other side. I was looking at this stat from Fred Warner a moment ago, and it goes kind of hand in hand with his versatility at the second level. Since drafting Fred Warner in 2018, the 49ers have allowed 11 fewer completions on passes over the intermediate middle third of the field than any other defense in the entire NFL. 11 fewer. So that's a lot. I mean, that's a full game's worth of completions for a really good wide receiver. But that's since 2018. They've allowed a 51% completion percentage to this area over that time frame, almost 2 percentage points lower than any other defense. And that's Fred Warner not only patrolling from pressures and sacks and interceptions and all these different things. He's just a solid coverage linebacker, too.
Absolutely.
He can do all of it.
And in 2023, Fred Warner had an interception, a sack. He got pressure on Dak Prescott and also led the 49ers in tackles. He's a complete game wrecker for this 49ers defense. But who can be a game wrecker for the Dallas Cowboys defense heading into Week 8 against the 49ers? That's up next.
Closed captioning is brought to you by the Texas Lottery. Cowboys scratch tickets from the Texas Lottery are here. Play today. And to watch more Dallas Cowboys content on your connected TV, download the Cowboys Now app on Amazon Fire, Roku, and Apple TV.
%35%. That's the pass rush win rate percentage for the Dallas Cowboys in 2024, ranking them 26th in the NFL. It's something that has been a weakness without their top 4 pass rushers this season. But how do they dial up pressure? Well, it was a topic on conversation on the break.
He's not interested in most quarterbacks. They talk about that 2.5. In his head, he's like 3, 3-1, 3. You know, he's standing there and
he's averaging 3.2.
Yeah, he is waiting. But his numbers, a lot of quarterbacks, if their numbers, if they hold the ball a long time, it's usually going to be a throwaway or something bad. With him, it's not that way. But the majority of his interceptions have been with him holding the football and then teams finding ways to drive on those intermediate routes, which he has thrived on in his career.
A couple of points I have to back that up. When KC dialed up the pressure, Purdy was awful. And that's what they did. That's what they threw at them. That's what Spags threw at him early in the game. And I believe right before that final scoring drive in the first half, so it was about 3 minutes left in the first half, he was roughly about 2 for 8 for 30 yards and an interception. I mean, he was awful.
Real quick, when you said they threw pressure at him, was it a 4-man pressure or were they blitzing him?
It was a little bit of both. It was just whenever the pressure was getting home necessarily. And when Purdy is pressured, he has a negative 17.5 EPA, expected points added, which basically just kind of adds to, it's a statistic towards offensive success. When he's not pressured, it's plus 43.7. That's a 60.2 EPA difference. Wow. And that is unreal. So, I mean, if you want to get to Purdy, or if you want to affect Purdy, get the pressure on him, which if you don't have a guy like Micah Parsons in this game, that's tough.
That's what I was going to ask you guys. Do y'all feel like currently the teams, the Cowboys, going into this weekend, do they have enough to create those kinds of pressures?
No. The one guy that I think has the potential to get home. The one guy that I think has the potential to get home against this offensive line.
You think it's Henry?
I think it's Odigizua.
Oh yeah, because what's happened, Aaron Banks at guard is not very good,
and Jake Brindle as well.
Yeah.
I mean, these guys are eyesores at center.
Yeah. See, the thing that I noticed with the left side of their offensive line, I felt like even with Trent Williams has given up some pressures. He's given up a couple of sacks.
That's interesting.
Yeah, Aaron Banks has struggled a little bit. You think it's McKivitz on the right side that would be the guy that you would attack. McKivitz is actually playing well. They've had a little bit of a situation with Dominic Pooney playing some guard. I don't know if he's going to start.
He's looked really good. I'll say that.
Yeah, Pooney has looked good, and that Spencer Buford used to be the guy that played there. I think they're going to go with Pooney in this game, but the number 65 Banks is the one that struggled with pressure one-on-one. That to me, and if, like I say, Trent Williams, as great as Trent Williams has been, it looks like there's a little bit of some slippage in his play. But I would try and attack the left guard spot. But you mentioned that. I mentioned Odigizua because of Brindle. There was multiple opportunities one-on-one. The center, Brindle, was getting pushed back into Purdy, and it was affecting that. Chris Jones had a hell of a game in that contest with Kansas City. Chris Jones, you wish you had Chris Jones.
Yeah, no, I was going to say Chris Jones is a whole different beast. But I will say this. I don't have much faith in the fact, or what I've seen so far, that a 4-man pressure that the Cowboys can get 4-man pressure. I really think if they're going to get pressure on him consistently, they're going to have to bring it from a lot of different places. They're going to have to blitz some linebackers. They're going to have to blitz some safeties. They're going to have to blitz some cornerbacks. Like, I think they're going to have to do other things in order to get them off, because I don't think there is or at least I'll put it like this, I have not seen anybody that currently is projected to play if Parsons doesn't, that would necessarily be able to have, that I have confidence in, that they can get pressure one-on-one, or even if they're facing a double team, obviously.
I will say the bright side of what the San Francisco offensive line, or at least what I've seen from them early on this season, is it's not really a complex thing that they try to do. No. Whenever they're pulling guys, they do not have success pulling guys.
Getting pressure on Brock Purdy was something that Mike McCarthy emphasized this week, and it'll be key for the Cowboys to come out on top tonight against the 49ers. But how do these two teams match up? That's up next here as we wrap up here on Cowboys Rewind.
Cowboys Rewind was brought to you by AT&T, official sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys. And by SWBC Mortgage, customized solutions to help you meet your personal and business goals. Visit swbc.com.
It's a 7:20 kickoff on NBC. Grab your popcorn, everybody. It's going to be a good one in San Francisco.